Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind podcast.
Welcome to this special on-location episode of the Grappling Rewind podcast. We're going to recap day one of CJI. As always with these day one shows, we're doing them like we're in Vegas right now. So these are not the typical Grappling Rewind show. If you're trying to tune in to a regular Grappling Rewind show with the right production and the normal studio show, this is not it. It's much more off the cuff. We have much more kind of sporadic notes than we usually have. It's more sort of our day one takeaways of CJI being here at the event, at the venue, and in the stand. So if that's not the kind of breakdown and recap you're looking for, might not be the live show for you, but I love doing them and they're a lot of fun to do. So we're going to rip through this real quick. Day one is over at CJI 2, the Quintet style format. We also had the first round of the women's $100,000 tournament. Again, apologies if the audio quality is not the same. I'm going to do the best that I can to normalize it, but the room is way more echoey, and we have just the mobile recorder as opposed to individual mics. So again, apologies. We'll be back next week.
And it's 1,000,000 degrees outside, and we'll melt if we sit outside too
long. We're going to do it in front of the pool like we talked about, but it is...
It's too hot.
I immediately started setting up the podcast outside, and then started sweating. And I went, "Okay, we're doing this inside in the kitchen of the Airbnb." So, with that being said, as always on the show, I'm your host Maine, and my co-host
Miranda.
Hey, Miranda.
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. We had a hell of a trip coming out to CJI. So we flew out. We flew out yesterday, and then we essentially had almost a 24-hour straight awake day to get to Vegas, do day one of CJI, and then come back. So it's been a great trip so far. Very tired. Just got done training at 10 Planet in Henderson, and so we've played the pool a little bit, and now we're back doing the podcast here. We are basically going to focus on the big takeaways of day one. Biggest moments, who we still have in the tournament, what's left, and then what's left of the women's tournament. Again, we're going to run through real quick. Overall, this event, it feels a lot like last year's event. It's funny, our seats are actually very. I got us seats that were very similar to what we had last year during the event.
They are.
And I like our seats. They're nice. They look down. We look over at like section like 217 or something.
Yeah, 217 is where we're at.
Down, they're good. I paid like $110 a piece for them.
Yeah, they weren't very expensive.
We have half the team out, so it's great. Overall, let's see. So let's just do. Maria, do you have any kind of event takeaways so far? They've already sold out of merch.
It's been a very long tournament. Not very many matches have been ending quickly. Even matches that you kind of would have expected them to end quickly have not ended quickly. And
Craig made a change. So today, for day two of CJI, there is a $50,000 bonus for any sub.
The largest pigeon I've ever seen in my life is in the backyard right now around the pool.
That's a chunky pigeon.
That's a chunky pigeon.
It's a Vegas
Sorry,
pigeon.
every once in a while I'm going to get sidetracked with pigeons.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a lot longer of an event than I think I would have expected it to be. But that just shows the preparation that some people have had to kind of understand the rule set. And
one of the things we like about the CGI rule set and the Quintet rule set overall is it makes a draw becomes important.
Yeah.
And it's like if you have we've seen very few submissions in this event, and usually we don't care about that. But it has been an overwhelming majority of matches where there's like a team matchup where there is one submission. Out of the 5 matches between two teams.
Yeah, so it's also created some problems because we'll talk about it later on. We've had some did they tap, did they not tap situations, and those situations become super, important when that's the only tap that may happen in your entire bracket.
Yeah, 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting. It's honestly it's almost been a little problematic for us kind of talking about it because most of the matches, there's some interesting dynamics, but because a lot of people are playing for the draws, you can't fault anyone for that. Like, for instance, Dante and Victor Hugo went to a draw, right? That was Dante and Victor Hugo.
Yeah.
It makes sense that Dante would play Hugo to a draw. It's like that was a weird match because Dante was the last guy on his squad. Hugo was the second to last guy on B team because Nick Rodriguez had an early submission.
So playing to a draw doesn't benefit you.
Right, but it's Victor Hugo. He has 90 pounds on Dante. It's like, well...
Yeah, but if he would have subbed Victor Hugo, then
Yeah.
he would have had to go against.
Ethan Constant.
Yeah.
I think a rematch from a while back.
Yeah.
But so we haven't really talked about actually how we were going to do this show. We had a ton of matches. We sat in the arena for almost 6+ hours yesterday.
I have no idea.
We got there at like right before everything started, so like 5:30,
Yeah.
and we left around 12:30
Yeah,
or something
ish.
like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a very long day. I wish that they would run a lot of this stuff faster. We're sitting around a while between matches and events.
I also wonder
teams.
if they did get money for this event through advertising.
Yeah, for
so
fluff.
you have to have breaks for advertising.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that unfortunately you have to deal with, and it just kind of gets pushed on to everyone else. But it does create a situation where we're sitting for certain periods of time.
And there's big like 15-20 minute periods where you're kind of walking around waiting for next matches. It's a slow paced event, and
Yeah.
the decisions are really not helping the pacing of the event. I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
But it's definitely like at about 11:15 last night, I was very ready
Yeah.
for the women to go
Well,
and have their matches.
and I don't
and
know.
that
I also don't know how people that are watching the YouTube, how that is actually going. Because if they're getting a split screen every once in a while for commercials, then that really kind of is a little infuriating if they're stopping
Yeah.
and not using that time.
Yeah, I've had a couple of people reach out to us and go like, "Yeah, man, it's dragging a little bit." But
Yeah.
again, when you run big tournaments in this way, this
Yeah.
can be the thing that happens. So I think this is ideal. This is probably not what they were expecting or hoping for.
Yeah.
This is almost worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the women's matches first, because I think that's going to be the easiest to break down while I stall for time to figure out how we're going to recap the rest of day one.
Well, the rest we just have to kind of go through.
Yeah. Helena Cravar versus Adele Flamarino. This was Cravar for 2 of the 3 rounds, hunting hard on ankle locks, having good
Yeah.
entries, and Adele not being able to put up enough of her own offense in 2 of the 3 rounds.
Yeah.
And Adele, I think, wins a split decision in the second round.
I think Adele also sometimes goes after submissions that people are either not like tuned in enough to pay attention to, or that she thinks she's doing more than what is happening.
Yeah.
Because this is the second match, with her first match being against Fionn,
At the rematch of
where
the NPI.
where she was under the impression that she was doing a lot more than the other party,
She
and
seemed
she got
surprised that she lost.
she gets a little angry about it. And what I think maybe is that maybe she's going after like arm locks that aren't transferring to what we're seeing,
Yeah.
because they're like these little sneaky ones that you don't pay attention to as much, or there's something that's not translating to the judges from
There's a disconnect between what she is doing, what she thinks she's doing, and what the judges and what even us in
exactly
the arena.
exactly.
So interesting enough, I had some people reach out to me that watched it live on the broadcast,
Yeah.
and they were like, I thought potentially Adele might have taken that. And then us in the arena, I think it was very clear. We were like, yep, Cravar takes that.
Yeah.
You know, we saw the first round, like, I think Cravar should take that. We saw the second round, and it was like, Adele,
Yeah.
I think, did a little more in that. But again, it really is.
And
the
it could
same
be
exact-
it could be camera angles too, because
Yeah.
we don't have as many camera angles to work
Yeah,
with.
we're looking at
Yeah.
that. We're also we are looking at whatever the Jumbotron is showing, which
Yeah.
is usually what's being on the broadcast. But again, watching an event live and watching it on the
Well,
broadcast is
the broadcast
very
also had the wrong matches up
for the first
for the
couple
tail of the tape for the first couple matches,
was
so
funny.
it happens sometimes.
But yeah, really, it was like a sort of another tale of Adele sort of not doing enough to
Yeah.
definitively put a stamp on a decision for this match, and Cravar staying really active and really diligent with the defense of the arm locks and getting her own footlock attempts
Yeah.
off and putting Adele kind of deep into some. She was just more active and more aggressive, and takes this one.
Yeah.
I don't really have a whole lot else to talk about. That's really what we saw.
Yeah.
She won 2 out of 3
And
rounds.
Helena looked at least 20 pounds heavier than Adele.
Helena looked bigger than she usually looks.
Yeah.
Which was interesting as well. I don't know how much the weight played a factor, because they were both sort of playing from the bottom.
Was it 145 was the... Did they have a amount, like a weight
I don't
cap
know. There was
or
a
not?
stridation between a lot of the weight classes.
Yeah.
I don't remember exact. They're all around the same weight. I think
Yeah.
I think Adele is on the smaller side, and I think is Sarah Gaval Cravar is on the heavier side of the whole tournament.
Yeah, but Sarah Gaval was probably the second heaviest. She was like
Probably, 'cause
145.
She's bigger than Erica and Anna Carolina by
Yeah,
far as
yeah.
well. So let's move to that. I mean, do you have anything else on the Helena versus Adele match?
No.
Let's move on to the Anna Carolina Vieira versus Sarah Gaval. This one was close, and then towards the end of it, they were 1-1 going into the second
Yeah.
round. And Sarah Gaval, it looked like Anna Carolina Vieira just kind of got tired.
Yeah.
Like she just sort of wasn't able to keep up with the pacing of Sarah Gaval.
I mean,
she had good moments.
yeah.
But I think it's put on the bottom.
Unfortunately, it looked a little bit like Sarah Gaval is a 19-year-old with the gas tank of a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
And Anna
It's 31.
is a master competitor, and she's a little bit slower. And she started ramping up the speed, and it was like she couldn't kind of, she fell a step or two behind, and when she fell a step or two behind, she couldn't really get herself back started to get,
Sarah Gaval
every
was
once in a
enough.
while she would get to good positions, because then the crowd would like lose their minds. But unfortunately, the position she was getting to, Sarah was able to like counter those movements and then get her own attacks and like mount her at one point, get on her back.
She got her
at
back
another
twice in
point.
that last round. That was like the inverted triangle there.
Yeah.
It was a very clear round for Sarah in the third.
Yeah.
And this match came down to that third round, and so it was 11. It was midnight at that point. We were kind of standing ready for the match to be over, and as soon as we saw the last like minute of the match, it was like, yep, it is very clearly going to be a decision in favor of Sarah Gaval because she was just able to outwork Anna Carolina mostly in that final round.
Yeah.
And it was kind of odd to see it come down to a work rate where Anna Carolina in the later pieces of the match is in turtle and like not actively like exploding up and turning it in, and kind of Sarah Gaval was being able to slow her down, kind of like a father, slow her down, get the position, get really dominant position,
and just do some really like your basic but very like diligent jujitsu.
Yes.
Nothing super fancy, but nothing at the same time really putting her in bad positions. If anything, allowing her to like capitalize. Anna would go after the legs. She would pass the leg and take her back. And she was never putting herself into a position where she really had to worry about very much activity out of Anna.
Mm-hmm. It was good. Now we have a rematch between Sarah Gaval and Helena Corvar.
Well, a rematch, but this is in the no-gi.
Very, very. Yeah. We watched their first match a couple of weeks ago when we previewed the women's bracket for this. That match was a heavy gi match on the part of Sarah Gaval.
Yeah.
This match, I think, will look drastically different. I would be surprised if we don't see Corvar with a couple of deep leg lock entries on Sarah Gaval in this rule set, because Sarah Gaval doesn't have the lapels that she used, the underpass, the belt grip that she used in their first matchup. That matchup was such a gi-heavy performance from Sarah Gaval. I don't think that Sarah Gaval can have that same kind of match versus Corvar. I'm going to pick Corvar in this matchup. I think Corvar is a much stronger no-gi player here, and I'm going to pick Corvar. I'm going to pick Corvar myself. I think Corvar would be able to get a foot and take it home in this matchup. Because again, look at what she did with Adele.
Yeah.
Like she had Adele, who's I think one of the best female footlockers in the world, in needing to defend and pull out and turn out. We haven't really seen Sarah in deep footlock battles before, which makes me wonder, in a big stage like this, in a huge tournament like this, and you have someone that is so diligent and good in those footlocks that's been competing at this level against professional level women for a while.
But we've also seen her have a problem with people who are heavier than her, which I don't think she is heavier than her, but around her size, and someone who knows how to use their weight and be able to, kind of impose. And then we saw that one loss that she had at Polaris where the girl just didn't let her set up, just freaking, ran at her, which I think really...
Nia Blackman, right?
No, not Nia Blackman. The one chick from the Polaris squads event who just gunned at her. And that really, in all honesty, seems to be one of the only ways you're really going to get something, unless you're like Nia Blackman, who just plays that. Yeah. Which, I mean, if she plays that game, there's a possibility she could just... But...
I think the dynamic's interesting. Who you gonna pick? You gonna pick Sarah here?
No, I'm gonna pick Helena, but
you think it's a me decision?
Yeah.
So that's all the women's bracket we're going to talk about. Let's talk about the late replacement matchup: Chael Sonnen versus Craig Jones.
Yeah.
Replaces Gabe Stevenson, who Craig Jones I think called a bitch as the intro for
Yes,
the event, which
he
was
did.
like, wow, that's a wild.
He did.
He walks on the stage and calls him a bitch, and then walks back out, and the match and the event starts.
Well, and I think they didn't say it, but there was if you listen to Demetrius Johnson's debate, that was Mikey Musumeci and Craig Jones. It's kind of alluded that everyone knows that Gabe was given a MMA fight that is through the
LFA.
LFA.
Exactly what we talked about last week.
Yeah, and
and
that's because of that contract he can't do it. And it's not probably because of the quote unquote
because of the
turf toe. But who knows? And who knows?
So the match we got is a rematch from 2017, Craig Jones versus Chael Sonnen.
Yeah.
This was Craig Jones hitting a single leg entry on Chael Sonnen after a minute or two of half guard play.
Yeah.
And then hitting a heel hook entry that Chael was like, nope, I'm not getting my leg blown by this Australian folk.
Yeah.
And I kind of think it goes exactly the same way. I'm curious what theatrics are going to
There's probably going to be a
involved.
lot of theatrics because if you've ever watched Chael fight,
I mean, a
which
lot of
I
people
saw,
don't.
I saw Chael fight John Jones at
that fight?
in Newark. I'm trying to think what UFC card it was. I don't know. It was one of the later. It was a while ago, but it was in New York, New Jersey, and the two of them. It's when John Jones broke his toe and like.
He compound dislocated his
And it
toe
was
in the
like
fight.
completely looking up straight up in the air, and they called the match, and then he looked down.
He subbed Chael.
Yeah.
And then it was like, John was like, oh, my toes.
Yeah, in the middle of the interview, he's like, "Oh shit, I broke my toe. I'm supposed to go on vacation," and all this shit. Yeah, we were there.
I didn't do that.
Yeah,
I think I know about that before.
And then I saw Chael when he fought Tito Ortiz at Bellator at Madison Square Gardens, like a couple years after that. But I like Chael. I think he's hilarious. I'm one of the few people that I listen to him talk, and I think he's freaking hilarious. Just because he talks,
he's entertaining.
He's very entertaining. He talks a lot of shit, and he says a variety of different things. But he's likable. Even if you don't like him, he's likable. And I know some people. Some people do not, but like.
Man, he grates on me.
But it doesn't. Yeah,
he's a good talker, and I think if you're gonna have a guy pull on late replacement like Chael retires to rematch Craig Jones 8 years later at his event.
How often does Chael even train?
But how often does Craig train?
Yeah, true.
But Craig is also probably training a little bit for Gabe. Again, I would be shocked to have Chael be able to win this because Chael's been retired for
quite a while,
like the better part of a decade now.
He did Bellator. He fought for Bellator for a minute.
Not that long. I think
that was a while ago when I think about it.
I think Chael's on the low end, pre-COVID by far. So on the low end, Chael's been retired for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Craig was been pretty inactive, but
and
takes a match or two a year.
Yeah, Chael seems to be in shape.
Yeah, I mean he's been putting out wrestling videos and he's been doing but are you in shape to face Craig Jones? Also, again, a guy with history, a guy you've beat before.
Yeah.
Chael doesn't seem like a guy that's really. He's retired and probably doesn't spend a ton of time continuing to train.
Yeah.
Craig is not fully retired yet. Everything kind of points to this being the retirement fight for Craig as well. But I just don't see this going any other way than ADCC Absolute 2017.
Yeah, I don't think that it's going to go Chael's direction, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of theatrics, and it would be even more hilarious if they used some of the theatrics from day one into day two.
Yeah.
Because that would make me good.
I'm curious if Craig throws it.
Yeah.
And we just go full pro wrestling. That's my only thing. It's like a genuinely because Chael, again, taking nothing away from Chael.
Yeah.
I am personally not the biggest fan of some of the shtick.
But Chael,
he's a phenomenal fighter.
Yeah, and he was a phenomenal NCAA wrestler. Yeah. It's not that he doesn't have.
There was a reason he was at ADCC in the first place. He's not just a pushover.
He has the accolades.
Mm-hmm. But he's older and he's not training, and it's late replacement.
Well, that we are aware of.
We're
you know what I mean? I have no idea. The man could still train every day, and I'm just. He's also the type that might tell you that he trains every day. So I don't know what to
With
believe, what
Chael,
not
you
to believe.
never know
But it's the same thing with Craig Jones. You never know what to believe from Craig Jones either. They both have that.
This is a machination, so you have no idea what to believe.
So I
think we break down the past performances. For me, that 2017 match, like, I just don't think that goes any differently. I think Craig has become a better leg locker since 2017, and I doubt Chael has really stayed up on the current leg lock meta that Craig has to be able to stop him.
Do we see Sonnen in a singlet, just to be weird?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Just because this was so touted as,
the wrestler versus
Craig Jones match.
So, again, do you have any kind of closing thoughts on it, or any kind of thing?
No, I mean, I think John Jones will win unless it becomes a complete...
John Jones will win?
John Jones. Craig Jones. Well, what's really funny is in Chael's thing, he keeps on, like, changing. He said John Jones, he said Craig Jones, he said, like, every Jones,
That's very funny.
All the Joneses.
So, let's move into the men's tournament. Realistically, I just want to talk through a couple of the taps in the tournament. Almost every match in this entire tournament has been a draw. And
no, besides the taps, we also have to note that we had the loss of a tooth that was then thrown off the mat. Because that was one of those things.
Wagner Hosha versus who?
It was Wagner versus, I'm trying to think, he was on.
So FYI as well, for some reason my phone is dying and we cannot load notes on anything but the Miranda's phone.
Yeah, so my phone is sitting here. That's why.
It won't load on the computer. It won't load on the phone. Airbnb, Wi-Fi, and even the internet for like the cellular internet we can't get. Only on Miranda's phone. So if we keep passing that back and forth,
if we're looking at
we're a little scatterbrained.
And you're like, what is going? Well, us being scatterbrained is normal, but
also, man, we need sleep. Like CJI 3, the day we get here, the time we get here a day earlier, and get to sleep a little bit.
So it was Wagner versus, and it was somebody.
Was it Dorsey?
Was it? No, Dorsey went against PJ.
Okay. So it was because Wagner was on New Wave, and
I know, and I'm trying to find that because
New Wave go against the first round.
Team Americas.
Okay, so the Misfits team that we had.
Wagner Hosha went against Elijah Dorsey.
Yeah, it was Dorsey.
But Wagner Hosha at one point, his tooth falls out. He picks it up off the mat. He says something and then throws it at John Donaher on the side. And all of us thought that it was like either tape
or a mouth guard
or a mouth guard, or like, in IBJJF, especially in gi tournaments, everybody always like has their phone in their gi and their phone just, we thought it was something weird that was like on him.
And then somebody got on Instagram and went, it was a fucking tooth. And I'm sorry, what? And then we all opened it and went, yeah, Wagner picked up a tooth, and then there's a picture of him in front of his wife.
Yeah,
and it's Wagner. It's a front tooth.
Yeah,
like Wagner,
but it looks like a cap because like he still has a little bit of the tooth left. So either it broke like seriously in half, but I think it looks like it was a cap, which is probably why he wasn't like in pain as it fell out of his face.
It's also so like of all the guys, like Wagner House was literally falling apart for the sport, and we're like, yeah, Wagner, do it.
Well, and then right after that, he almost subs Elijah Dorsey.
Yeah, with that, dude. Wagner Hosha is one of the best Kimura trap players. Like he has a Kimura trap instructional that's actually very good. Like
I hate Kimura traps.
I do too, but there's always
one day I need to learn them.
Wagner's the guy I always think about when anyone talks about Kimura traps, because he's been using them for a really long time, and like just a solid move. He almost gets Elijah Dorsey with it. He doesn't. That match goes to a draw. It
was kind of weird. Elijah Dorsey was also trying to like, I think, wrist lock him through like the whole thing.
That was he kept trying to wrist lock him.
Who, if anybody, you're gonna try to like wrist lock? Why the hell are you going after him? First, like he's gonna like take it out on you. Like you try to wrist lock him, he might hit you in the face. just accidentally,
Accidentally
accidentally.
breaks Wagner's foot and Wagner doesn't tap. There's not a guy like Wagner's not gonna.
He's
tap
not
to a
really the
wrist lock.
dude. He's not really
He's
the
just
dude
not.
that I would,
But it was funny. Elijah kept, and there was that topside wrist lock from
Yeah.
the guard. I was
Yeah.
like, that's not a wrist lock you're ever. I mean, maybe it's for activity, but it was just such a. It
Nick,
was such a funny.
Nick
technique
thought
to
he was
choose.
Nick thought he was trying to set something up with it. Like he wanted a reaction,
Possibly.
and then from the reaction he was going to do something. But I guess he never got the reaction that he wanted.
Yeah. So we're out of order here because our notes are out of order. We had. Let's see. Let's talk about B Team versus Daisy Fresh. I think honestly that was one of the more interesting matchups.
And it was the last matchup of that part of the tournament.
Yeah, we had Joseph Chen versus Max Hansen. Ended up in a draw. Chen looked good, but Max Hansen played a really tight closed guard
Yeah.
the entire time. We're not going to run through every single match because
Yeah.
you can. The whole thing's on YouTube. You can watch. I want to kind of stick to the interesting
It's on
ones.
the YouTube of Flow.
Yeah, it's on Flo's YouTube.
Yeah.
And hopefully they got paid well.
Well, I think it sounds like they did.
It sounds,
So.
it sounds like they got $1 million, is what it sounds like the deal is. Next one, we had Nick Rodriguez versus Brandon Reed. This one is interesting. This was Nick Rodriguez playing guard because you're probably not going to be able to take down Wagner Hosha. Oh, not Wagner. Brandon Reed.
Yeah.
And Brandon Reed almost hits a duck under at one point on Nick Rodriguez, or a super duck on him. And the most interesting thing about this... What?
It's not important. Anyway, so sorry, I completely.
We're talking about
I
Brandon Reed
sidetracked us.
and Nick Rodriguez.
Yeah.
The big sequence was in one sequence late in the match. We have Nick Rodriguez continuing to play guard, trying to wrestle up.
Yeah.
In one snap sequence, he kind of drags and he sprints to Brandon Reed's back, and we're like, well, there it is.
Yeah.
Classic Nick Rodriguez, gets the back, gets the hooks in, gets the body triangle in, throws the choke in. We're like, that's all she wrote.
Yeah.
He gets the tap. That was probably like, if there's anyone who's going to really choke someone in the
Yeah.
tournament, it's Nick Rodriguez match 1. Nick Rodriguez comes out match 2 versus, interestingly enough, another big wrestler in Michael
Yeah.
Pixley. And we went, okay, Nick Rodriguez looks a little tired because Brandon Reed is 40 pounds heavier, and
Yeah.
Nick Rodriguez had to cut
And
to make the weight.
And Brandon Reed is a solid wrestler. And if you
He's
watched
good.
him when he was trying to get into his legs, he could not.
Dude.
And then it was him trying to wrestle up on Brandon Reed. Brandon Reed not really allowing that to happen a lot of times. So Brandon Reed was creating a lot more activity, I think, than he may have thought that he needed,
Nick Rodriguez at one point tries to blast double Brandon Reed from like a wrestle up, and Brandon Reed just boom and sprawls
Yeah, like
him
hits him with
down.
his hips, and
it
it's-
was
yeah.
like Gaudio hitting, like Hulk hitting Gaudio, where
Yeah.
it's just like boom in front of you, just stops all the momentum, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that was a big dude with a
Yeah.
real good sprawl. That he didn't even kick his legs back. He just knew he had the position to stop Rodriguez's wrestle up, and it
Yeah.
went, oh, this is a problem.
Yeah.
So Nick Rodriguez visibly pretty tired. And Pixley gets out and knows Nick Rodriguez is tired, comes out, guns ablazing, foot sweeps Nick Rodriguez over
Foot
like
sweeped
2
him.
or 3
Yeah.
times. And I went, ooh, Nick Rodriguez is trying to catch his breath and is a
Yeah.
little bit on skates. Then Nick Rodriguez sort of locks in and goes, okay. Pixley keeps throwing that Darce that he hit Margali with.
Yeah.
He keeps throwing it. And I think by the third attempt, Nick Rodriguez sort of had the timing, had the shoulder position, and knew, he's like, hey, this guy's super dangerous. I am really tired. I just need to kind of carry this match
Yeah.
to the end to go for the draw.
Yeah.
He plays it for the draw. He gets the draw, and then they're both out.
Yeah.
And then now, Pedigo is down. They're 2 big wrestlers.
Yeah.
You're plus 99 and you're under 99. And now we move on to Jacob Couch versus Chris Wojcik. An interesting battle of footlocks back and forth. It ends in a draw. I was impressed with Wojcik's defense.
Yeah.
There was a couple entries that Couch had here where I went, ooh, a lesser man not known for his own footlock would have gotten blanketed.
And Chris Wojcik, I don't remember being an 88, but maybe he is. I thought he was
I thought he was
close.
77.
I thought he was a 77,
Yeah.
but maybe he is a little bit bigger because.
Couch looked bigger because Couch
Yeah.
is under 88 and Chris is under 88.
But I think Couch cuts to under 88.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
Couch cuts to under 88. He had talked about, when I interviewed him at
Yeah.
the West Coast Trials win, he talked about getting his
Yeah.
diet on point
Yeah.
to get there. Next we have Victor Hugo versus Dante Leon. That was the last match because New Wave had 2 guys.
Yeah.
Because they were the only team to not get subbed and counter-subbed in this entire
Yeah.
tournament. and essentially get an extra guy going into the final. Victor Hugo versus Dante. Dante is, we talked about it in the stands, Dante kind of has to go for broke.
Yeah.
But also it's like, Victor Hugo is one of the hardest dudes in the world to beat if you have size parity with him.
Yeah.
Like, Nick Rodriguez has been able to beat him.
Yeah.
Dante Leon has such an uphill battle.
Dante Leon has been known to beat people that are larger than him. He's done the absolute divisions and done fine with it.
But Victor Hugo also knew that he just had to stall him. It was one of those, like, it is such an uphill battle. You're smaller by, because Hugo weighed in at 120 kilos, like 264 is what you showed me. And Dante made 77 kilos.
Which is
170.
It's like 178, I think.
No.
No.
169.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and Dante probably balloons back up 5 or 10 more pounds.
Yeah.
So Dante, at most, Dante is probably walking around at 190 at most. So at minimum, Hugo has 75 pounds on him.
Yeah.
At maximum, probably 90 pounds on him. And Hugo
and a lot of reach.
And he's enormous.
Yeah.
So that match went exactly how you'd expect it to go. Again, good showing from Dante, doesn't get subbed, but it was a more slower paced match because it didn't have to be.
Yeah.
And then Ethan Carlson got called out because he was the only guy in the entire event day one for men that didn't have to go. Well, in general, athletes overall that didn't have to go.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I talked about it, we were talking about it in the stands. The thought is, like, do you put Ethan out first, you get him to stall Dante, and then go Victor Hugo? But the better play is probably exactly what they did.
Yeah.
You keep Ethan fresh. Now you have a fresh guy.
But then your other issue is, let's say Dante subs Ethan.
And it's on Victor Hugo.
Then it's on Victor Hugo.
Yeah.
And he, has to create that action.
Versus, like, Victor Hugo can probably do that, and then you have Ethan in the back pocket to throw at. So it was an interesting kind of thought process, and I think they played it perfectly correct. It's so funny. So our notes here, we have Team America versus
New Wave.
Team New Wave. So Team America is basically Team Misfits.
Yeah.
So the guys from the DMV area that we know, and Taylor Perlman. We'll get to that here in a second here. Match 1 and 2. These are the opening matches of the event. We had Luke Griffith and Pat Downey. Pat Downey, good submission defense, man.
He got out of those triangles. He got out of a lot of triangles.
Astonished. He got out of the armbar, the reverse triangle, the triangle. Like, I was astonished. I did not believe that Pat Downey had that level of submission defense.
Yeah.
And he's not even getting cranked on. He just had solid, fundamental, good submission defense to get out of these things, man.
The only problem is he wasn't really creating any angles. He was kind of like going straight at
Which is a
Luke,
wrestler.
you know, and by going straight at him, he was kind of going straight into that the triangle armbar, like, back take thing that Luke kept on kind of rolling into every single time.
It was very clear that Luke was going to take this match. Given enough time, probably sub Downey, but again,
my only thing that I don't understand why it didn't happen is why, like, Luke wouldn't have, and the only thing, that somebody from our team had said was, because I would have thought Luke Griffith being a long, lanky gentleman, when Pat starts to crowd you and he passes on his knees, you just kick him in the chest and get up and then freaking cut through him and go on top. And my only thought is that if Pat...
You end up in a wrestle scenario with Pat, you're going to lose that.
Yeah. But there's a local guy, Cockle, who, like, his jam is to kick you in the chest or kick you in the leg, and, like, as you do that, he jumps your leg and, like, heel hooks the crap out of you.
He's very, very good at it.
And he does it to a lot of people, and it's something that he does. And I wonder why something like that wasn't done. If they just thought that maybe because he's a wrestler, he's not going to have the awareness to land on his butt and his back.
Yeah.
And so you don't have that benefit of being able to do that. But I just thought there would have maybe been a little bit difference if there was a thought of, like, off balancing.
Tactically, it was odd. It was like, I expected Luke to be able to put Pat away, but again, Pat was solid, didn't get put away. Next, we had Wagner and Elijah Dorsey. We've kind of already talked about that.
Yeah.
That ends in a draw. Third match, we have Giancarlo Bodoni getting the first sub of the event versus Gavin Corbett.
So if you want to see how to take someone down with collar ties and just aggressive pushing.
Dude, Giancarlo collar ties Gavin Corbett to the ground.
To the ground, like, in a way that I was like, holy shit! Like, it looked like some kind of beatdown that you see, like,
He just collar tied Gavin like so hard, and the third kind of way gets him down. He just collar ties him so hard, and then he just drops him down.
And then he does it again, like straight into the wall, and jumps his back, and I'm like, holy shit!
This is
like
ADCC Giancarlo.
Yeah.
And they relatively quickly get to rear naked choke because he's a phenomenal rear naked choke artist.
But man.
So then Giancarlo moves on to take on Taylor Perlman. Austin and I, for the last 2.5 hours prior to recording, probably almost 2.5 hours, have been talking about this match. I really, on the show right now, don't want to go into it in huge detail because, again, it's been hours of us talking about it in the hotel, in the Airbnb all the time. Go back and watch this match. The big question is, like, do you think Bodoni tapped? Do you not think he tapped? Taylor Perlman lets go. And then the match continues, and then after the referee stops it. So in my eyes,
after the ref stops it, after everyone inside the entire arena starts chanting he tapped.
Yeah.
That's when the match is stopped.
But it's not stopped before that.
No.
And I think this is a very clear, you kind of hold this on the ref. Like, the ref didn't, you take two people. Like, Taylor probably should have held this until the ref comes in to stop because it's not clear. But he's an athlete, he's allowed to do whatever he wants in the space of the match.
Yeah.
The referee, if he didn't see a tap and didn't stop the action, it's like that's on the referee to do that and then enforce. And then there's crowd influence, so it's a whole mess of a situation. Inevitably, it doesn't matter because Team New Wave moves on anyway.
Yeah.
But again, we've been beating this dead horse.
It's a weird situation because of when it's done and how the tap is actually done.
And if you look at it as like, is it hand, is it tap, is it push?
And then if you look at it,
immediately starts moving still.
Yeah, and sometimes if you look at it in slow-mo, it looks worse, and then you look at different angles, it looks
like,
even different.
It's not a tap, it's a push.
It's a pretty interesting.
We can all
around.
agree that it's not super clear.
Yeah.
The only one that knows if they tapped is Giancarlo.
Yeah.
And really, if you're a referee in this situation, what you're supposed to do is, hey, I didn't see it, you move on.
Yeah.
If you're an athlete in the situation, Taylor doesn't let go until there's a clear tap and the referee intervenes, or you hold after a tap is seen.
And you say to you look at the
you do something. So it's just a weird, complex situation, but it is very odd to have a referee not see a tap, to then have an athlete tell a referee he tapped, then a referee to stop action. That is not how that's supposed to happen. It was weird and odd. Again, it doesn't matter because New Wave moves on, but it was the most controversial tap of the event. There's another one here we'll get into, but it moves on. Any kind of thoughts you got on it?
No, I don't. I truthfully think it was more of a push.
I kind of thought
like
the same
a grab,
thing.
Because sometimes when you go to grab, especially when your balance is a little off because you're trying to move around, you kind of hit instead of like.
Yeah, it's not clear, which is my problem, and it's like it's just such a weird
and normally in situations like that, both of you look at each other, you're like, I didn't tap, and then you just keep on going.
And that's kind of Bodoni does, but it's also Perlman thinks he taps. I think Perlman thinks he taps, and Bodoni thinks he doesn't tap, and so you get in this weird scenario where then the referee, it's on them to call it, and the referee after the fact, like it's a whole mess. This match was handled really poorly because this is really not how the referee is supposed to do this.
Yeah.
It's a really poor. So they have to go to the judges because then the referee has made a call after the fact. And again, they ruled it a tap. Taylor Perlman moves on. We then move into Dorian Olivares versus Perlman. No, wait a second. I switched this one.
No, it is.
Yeah.
Perlman versus.
That ends in a draw.
Yeah.
Dorian has gotten way better as a passer.
Yeah.
Which we knew he'd been working on his passing, but
does
now we're seeing him.
Yeah. A lot of work, a lot of movement.
Beautiful north-south work to stay away from Perlman's leg entries and just like.
And get on top of him and kind of control him from the top.
Is going to be and continue to be such a problem for so many people if he keeps improving at the rate he's improving.
Yeah. And he's also 19.
Yeah, and in the final round, we have Mika Gavao versus DeAndre Corbray. Mika Gavao wins that match, but isn't.
It's a draw.
Yeah, it's a draw. In the judges' score, they give the event to New Wave because New Wave had the better.
DeAndre had some really good defense.
He did.
He had some really good guard work. he got back to his guard in a lot of situations where I haven't seen a lot of people do that. So credit is due there to DeAndre for putting up like a lot of, and not allowing like
his size parity was good too.
We also didn't see like a jumping armbar. We didn't see him open up in a way that allowed Mika to attack or do anything.
And dude, DeAndre played this the best you could have possibly played that versus Mika Galval with the skill set that DeAndre brings to the table as historically a 66er that goes up to 77.
Yeah.
Like it was. I was very impressed with DeAndre, even though he loses the match on the cards. Very impressed with that. New Wave moves on. I think reasonable given that performance for the event. But it's kind of tough because you're even at the end and you get a decision.
And what was funny was they interviewed the teams afterwards, or the team captain afterwards, which was Bodoni. And he makes comment, like everybody saw there, I didn't tap. And then the whole crowd starts like booing him. And it was not the response that I think he thought he was going to get. And it made a very awkward situation that was hilarious at the same time.
Injured, but it's also, I think, if Bodoni's up there, it's like, he's probably not going to get up there. And I don't think Bodoni doesn't think he tapped. Did he tap? So, again, throw it to the comments. They move on. It inevitably kind of doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter.
So moving on, now we have Team Atos versus Team Europe. Match 1, we have Lucas the Hulk Barbosa versus Paweł Jaworski. 88 for Lucas and 77 for Powell.
Yes.
It's a draw.
Yeah.
Next match, Rolando versus Charles Negromonte. A draw. Next match, Kynan Duarte versus Owen Jones. Draw, which is
this
came out. We went
Kynan
Owen.
is under 99, and Owen is an under 66. This was, I thought we were gonna get another like when Kynan just puts his knee on your face and then just rips one of your like arms off or grabs your head. And he really didn't do that to Owen.
He doesn't want to get leg locked by a small guy again. And Owen's a guy that can do it. And this was, again, Tyna played it perfectly. I was extremely impressed with Owen Jones's guard and his composure this entire match. Like, this is the best result you could hope for Owen Jones here.
And the whole time, he was like, before the match started, he was staring Kynan down.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to win this match.
Yeah, in a way that I was like, dude, that's pretty beastly.
That's dude. Yeah. It was awesome to see that from him. Because again, you shouldn't be in this tournament unless you think you can beat all these guys.
Yeah.
And Owen Jones thinks that. And it was like, man, that's stacked against you. But for him to put up and essentially take Duarte out, when it's like that's a match that everyone expected him to lose, and he takes and brings Duarte to a draw in an 8-minute match, that is the best scenario you could ever have asked for their team. And then we go to the final match. We have Felipe Pena versus Marcin Matulowicz. Ends in a draw.
Not the final match.
The second to final match. And then Pato versus Paul Ardilla ends in a draw. Again, all good matches, but really for this, Team Atos was probably winning most of these matches on the cards.
Yeah.
And they inevitably get the decision at the end. Anything else you want to hit on these or no?
So something that we learned at the event, first of all, was every round was 8 minutes. It wasn't a series. It wasn't a series of rounds. It was an 8-minute round. And then we weren't told the scoring for each round, but each round was scored. And then
10-9, 10-8.
Yeah, and in this situation, we went to, and it was 49-46 because they aggregate like all the matches together.
All 5 matches together, and then they give a score at the end, which was very clearly for Otto.
So that was something we weren't really quite aware of how it was going to work. So I just wanted to make sure that was at least said out loud.
Again, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's a good way to do it. But it was a little confusing initially at the event. Yeah. Next one, we have Team Australasia versus Team 10th Planet. Match 1, 2, and 3 end up in draws. We have
PJ Barch versus Lucas Kennard. We had Ryan Aiken versus Declan Moody, and Alan Sanchez versus Fabricio Andre.
Yep. Good matches, a lot of leg lock attempts. Kennard versus Barch was, I think, very exciting for leg lock attempts. I was really impressed with Kennard being as willing as he was to engage Barch in the legs, and kind of looked like for a lot of those matches was getting the better of the exchanges. But Barch, man, there was a couple of counter leg locks that Barch tried to hit, and it was like you saw Kennard very quickly be more diligent. You saw PJ a bunch of different times started to set up for like
Yeah.
an outside heel hook, and Kennard have to pull it and track his leg. Like, this was honestly a really fun match. I'll probably go back and watch Kennard versus Barch again because
Yeah.
it was a really interesting match. Kennard eliminated the wrestling that Barch could do and just kept it into the legs, and we got to see both guys kind of work and pummel through the legs for a good piece of the match. Next match, we had Bilal Trabadi versus Gio Martinez. Bilal immediately...
Is the plus 99, and
Yeah.
Gio is their under 66.
Bilal immediately jumps on an ankle lock
Yeah.
and then starts trying to break Gio Martinez's leg in half and off.
You see the knee do some things that are not really
You see
fun
the
to
leg
watch.
like do the thing where it starts to bend. It's like Bilal was trucking as hard as he could. And Gio, man, is a gangster.
Yeah.
Grabbing on the hands, grabbing the grips, like he was doing everything he could to defend. And eventually, Bilal belly down ankles. Gio comes to like an upward stance, which is what you're gonna do if you're gonna roll through
Yeah.
or push off the butt.
Yeah.
But because Bilal is tall, he's flared out and pushed Gio away. Gio removes his hand off the mat and he reaches back and he taps Bilal's leg 3 times. Bilal lets go because that's a tap.
And he doesn't, like, after he does that, he just kind of sits there, which is different than the Bodoni one, because Bodoni immediately starts to move as soon as he hits the leg. He immediately starts moving. Where in this situation, there's a tap, he stops, the match is over, and then Gio all of a sudden flips out because he didn't tap.
Yeah, this was weird.
And I don't understand.
This was just weird. I don't want to go too into detail.
Yeah.
But this is weird. This is kind of weird behavior. This is just weird.
Yeah.
Because and even the whole arena, like where they show it in slow mo, which I don't like showing taps in slow mo
Yeah.
on Jumbotron because showing something it's like anything looks like a tap in slow mo.
Yeah.
It's not a good representation. And there's a clip floating around on Instagram that is only the last 2 taps that Gio
Yeah.
has. Like he brings his hands up and reaches back to make the tap.
Yeah.
It's very clearly a tap. It is really weird that Gio's kind of doubled down in an interview and online that this wasn't a tap. Gio retires. Again, Gio's had a phenomenal long career. This is just really weird that Martinez is continuing to say he didn't tap because it's really clear. Like, he wasn't continuing to defend.
And in the position that he was in, nothing good would have came out of it.
Yeah, Bilal is
Like,
in a great place to literally break his foot off his leg or break his shin. Like he's in the position to be able to do that belly down coming through. And was he going to break it? We don't know. But Gio tapped.
But
and
also,
do
you really want your final match for your entire career to be your leg being ripped in half?
Yeah, it was an unfortunate kind of end to that match, but a very clear tap for everyone in the arena. Next one we had Kyle Bain versus Bilal Trabadi. This was fun because it's again Bain is a monster leg locker, also plus 99. So you have your 2 plus 99 leg lockers going at it, and Bain gets it done, man. He gets a really good heel hook on Bilal Trabadi, and he kind of does what you should do, and he continues to hold until the ref.
And he also does it up against the pit wall.
Yeah, so Bilal can't make the transition and roll. Like, beautiful entry for this, beautiful finish. Again, Bilal looks like his leg is is fairly sprained.
Yeah.
We did watch him walk around, but he does have a little bit of a limp. I am very curious how this will affect him in day 2.
Yeah.
If it's going to swell, like if it's torn, it's definitely sprained.
Yeah.
Because you saw Bain ripping for it,
Yeah.
which is what you do in a $1 million tournament. But I'm curious how it's going to impact Bilal here for day 2. And then the final match of the evening, we had Kyle Bain versus Quintet Iwamota. Dude, Kenta's a gangster wrestler.
Yeah.
To be willing to wrestle down Kyle Bain, who's plus 99. Again, Kenta's under 77 kilos.
Yeah.
And Quintet will go a little bigger, a little smaller, but Quintet won trials at 66 kilos for 2019.
Yeah.
Like, Quintet's not a huge dude, and Bain is a huge dude. He wrestles him to a draw. He avoids the legs. He starts to pass. Like, this is a great showing for Kenta. I think he wins on the cards to win this match. But it was just impressive to have him kind of shut down all of Bain's entries into the legs. Bain would kind of get there. Kenta would pummel out. He'd turn. He'd wrestle through. Like, Kenta is one of the most underrated top-level guys, I think, in the world. Guys don't, I think, really realize how good Quintet is. Because not a lot of guys can. Again, we saw your plus 99 guy gets finished, and then Quintet 77 can take it to a draw.
Yeah.
So we have Team Australasia moving on to day 2.
After a unanimous decision, because they both had one sub.
Yeah, because they both had 1 sub and they countered.
Yeah.
So that's all 4 teams? That's all 8 teams? We're missing stuff?
Nope, that's all of
We
them.
get Pedigo, we got Pedigo.
We got Pedigo.
Yeah.
We got.
Okay. So
I'm trying to think if there are any other like interesting.
it's been fun.
Things.
It's been very long. I would love to see. We can have when you do a full breakdown after the
Yeah.
event. We'll probably talk more about the rule set and the
And
thoughts on it
another
and stuff.
and another thing is that Craig Jones has started something for today, which is he's awarding 50K
Yeah, 50K.
to submissions that are done, so that people are a little more.
And in a $1 million tournament, I'm very curious how much that's going to affect your strategy. Because I win 50K to get the sub, but if I win the tournament,
But
I
if
get
you don't-
200,000.
But if you don't think your team is going to win at all, you're
I
only
didn't
getting
consider that.
10K to be there, right?
I don't
Are you
know.
still
Are
getting
you-
10K to be there? I
don't
don't
know.
know. But if you think your team isn't going to win, you're not going to make any money. So maybe you get 50K and you rip someone's foot off, or maybe you start putting your plus 99 against the 66, just so they can
Try to
make
get those
just
subs.
so they can make some money, so you can get the
Yeah.
subs. You play a little bit more of a dangerous game.
I don't think it should affect how many. Because I think everyone in this tournament thinks they can beat everyone else in this tournament, but it does kind of make you
But there are
wonder.
certain teams that aren't gonna win.
It's
I mean, they
Quintet, man.
could, but
it's a wild event, man.
You know, you
So,
never know.
Overall, I think it'll be. Again, we're not going to preview any matchups coming
Yeah.
here because we have no idea. Like until the guys walk out, who's going against who. But overall, it's been a very interesting event. Definitely been slower than we had hoped. But it's been
Yeah.
fun to be out here. Fun to be out here with the team. Any kind of closing thoughts you got before we wrap it up?
Nope, not at all.
All right, so this will be probably the last show that we do out here in Vegas. We'll probably put this out, and then sometime next week, sometime in the middle of the week, probably we'll drop a regular, numbered episode for
Yeah.
the podcast, recapping day 2 and CJI in general. But it'll probably be delayed by a couple of days, so it'll be a midweek release. You're gonna
Yeah.
get this one in Vegas, probably today. It's Sunday. Probably
Yeah.
today it'll be released on all the platforms, so I can get the Wi-Fi to work here. And then in a couple of days, you'll get a regular scheduled episode for Grappling Rewind. So, Miranda, any closing thoughts?
Nope, that's
All right.
it.
As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, my co-host.
Miranda.
We have the Grappling Rewind, and that what it is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Google Plus,
Until that shuts down.
we have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
Let us know.
reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.